Suicide Squad was a disappointment, and hopefully the James Gunn sequel will be great. Heck, maybe the Ayer cut will happen, and I'm sure that'll be great too. But the cut we got was not good. So today I'm going to attempt to fix it. Quick disclaimer, I'm not trying to claim that I'm a better filmmaker or storyteller than anyone involved with Suicide Squad, up to and including David Ayer. It's pretty clear WB really messed with this movie. Also, he's written and or directed 15 feature films. I've done 0. So yeah, this isn't me saying anyone's a bad filmmaker. I'm just acknowledging and trying to fix some problems with the movie and add a bit of my own spin to it. It's honestly more of a writing exercise than anything. So, what goes into fixing Suicide Squad? Well, I'm going to bring a little bit of comic accuracy, make it feel more like it's a part of the greater DC Extended Universe story, mingle with the story a little bit, and also work with the characters. This includes changing around the roster a little bit. I think this movie has too many characters, and here's why. If you're making a Suicide Squad movie where Task Force X has been around for a long time, which I guess is what James Gunn is doing, you can have as many characters as you want, really, because the only reasoning you have to give for each team member being on the team is that they have skills that could be even remotely useful. But if you're making a Suicide Squad movie where the team is forming for the first time, it's important that you explain specifically why each team member was chosen above others to be a founding member of Task Force X. And personally, I just don't really like some of the members of the Suicide Squad in the movie, so I'm gonna play around a little bit with the lineup. So Harley Quinn and Deadshot are staying. They both have good reasons to be there, even though they aren't really used in the theatrical cut. Deadshot is obviously an amazing shot, and Harley Quinn has the intimidation and clout of the Joker, think why she doesn't tell people they broke up in Birds of Prey, while also being much easier to control. So, what about the rest? Well, I'm replacing Rick Flag as leader with Hitman. Hitman is a character from the comics that is kinda like if John Constantine met Luke Cage with a dash of Deathstroke and a little something extra. He was bitten by an alien parasite and gained X-ray vision and telepathy that led to him working for the government, doing things that generally superheroes wouldn't do. Though in this version, I'm tweaking his origin a little. Obviously, the alien that bit him isn't part of some invasion, or either it has to be a one-off, or you could probably figure out a way to tie it into the Zod invasion in Man of Steel. But either way, after he's bitten, he's taken to Argus and experimented on until Amanda Waller stopped the experimenting in exchange for having him go on these missions. Katana's also being replaced. Her role in the movie was essentially to be the superhero in the group that keeps an eye on everyone else. I'm replacing her with Bronze Tiger. Bronze Tiger is, I guess, sort of like if Batman went kinda bad. Basically, Bronze Tiger was originally Ben Turner, and he watched his parents get murdered. After this, he trained very heavily in martial arts and became somewhat of a vigilante, but after the death of his fiancée, he sort of went off the rails and became more of an assassin. As much as I love Captain Boomerang, he isn't really qualified to be in on the ground floor of Task Force X, so he's out. Killer Croc also doesn't do much, and I think he should be saved for another movie, so he's out too. I'm going to be replacing Slipknot with an original Suicide Squad member named Blockbuster. Blockbuster was a chemist who experimented with drugs to make him stronger, which led to him accidentally becoming incredibly aggressive. As for El Diablo, as much as I don't mind him on the team, there's another character that I like better that will take his place. This hero is traditionally white in the comics, but since his race isn't really that important to the character, and he's pretty obscure, I'm cool with him becoming Latino to retain that diversity. I'm replacing him with a character called Friendly Fire. He has the ability to shoot blasts of fiery energy from his hands, though there's a catch that I'll get to and some really cool backstory. So, that's the team. Now villains. Joker is out of here. Personally, I like Jared Leto's Joker, but I don't think he really has a place in this version of the movie. And frankly, I don't think the best place to introduce Joker into a cinematic universe is as a side villain in a Suicide Squad movie. So while he will be alluded to, he won't appear. As for Enchantress, she's remaining the main villain of this movie, but I will be changing her origins quite a bit, and her plan and motivations will be different as well. So, without further ado, let's fix this movie. We open at Star Labs. June Moon has been working there for years, but recently she's been approached by a mysterious government organization to find out about a secret project being worked on by Silas Stone in the basement. We see her sneak down into the basement that night and discover the Mother Box, and it starts calling to her. Hearing whispers and coos of another world, she touches the Mother Box and a surge of energy passes through her, the whispers crescendoing to screams as the Enchantress is born within her. We cut to a scene of Hitman going on a mission. Ideally, this is something that connects to the greater story, at least on a metaphorical level, but I really don't have the time, honestly, to come up with that. So, let's say he's there to steal technology from a company, say Palmer Tech if we want to throw in a reference, so that Argus can use it. Once he's done, he comes face to face with Amanda Waller. Waller explains to Hitman, whose alter ego by the way is Tommy Monahan, that for the past few years the Hitman program has been a success, and she wants to expand the project. Form a team. Back during World War II, the government took a group of specially skilled criminals and formed a team called Task Force X to go on missions to help the free world in a fight against the Nazis. She wants to revive the program with Monahan as their leader to keep them in line. So, Tommy agrees, but notes that they need to make sure they only get the cream of the crop for the team. Otherwise, they might as well be on a Suicide Squad. Show title, obviously. So, after the title, Waller starts introducing each member of the task force. Harley Quinn, sidekick to the Joker. She was recently taken in during a failed attempt by Batman to arrest the Joker. Bronze Tiger, an assassin that was recently sniffed out of hiding by Argus thanks to some help by one King Faraday. Blockbuster, a brute that was turned in by his own brother out of fear in return for not being sent to prison. Deadshot, a man who never misses a shot that was caught off guard by Batman while with his daughter. Enchantress, the Talbotian alter ego of scientist June Moon that was cornered while stalking around Metropolis. And Friendly Fire, a superhero who's been spending time at Arkham Asylum ever since he was found in the Cauldron, surrounded by the ruins of a warehouse and a bunch of charred corpses, sputtering nonsense about a non-existent superhero team called Section 8. Obviously, as this is happening, we get a montage of each character's origin and each of them getting taken into custody. So, we get a couple short scenes of each character being collected at this point. Nothing major, but enough to get a feel of each character dynamically and see how they bounce off each other. It's pretty clear the vibe each character gives off. Harley and Deadshot are pretty much the same. Blockbuster's vibe is similar to Killer Croc in the original. Hitman's sort of the snarky leader. Bronze Tiger's the no-nonsense fighting machine. Enchantress is the outcast that just mutters about alien worlds. And Friendly Fire seems like an alright guy, but he's insecure and defensive. Meanwhile, a comet hits a nuclear reactor in Europe. The planet explodes, and from its ashes rises a red and purple monster. A monster made of plasma and brimstone. And so the squad is sent there as part of their first mission. The battle is tough. Their initial tactic is to use Blockbuster's brute strength to crush it, but it's too powerful. It's stronger than Blockbuster, can fly, and shoots lava from its hands. Blockbuster tries to stop it but fails and ends up fleeing, which causes Waller to activate the bomb in his neck and blow him up. There goes their most powerful team member. For the most part, the rest of the team either have no powers or limited powers that aren't really useful. Enchantress could probably handle it, but for some reason she's just standing in the background watching the fight. They realize Friendly Fire is their only hope. Fight fire with fire, right? So, Friendly Fire gives it a shot, but he can't fire at the monster. Because, yeah, his powers have the limitation that he can't hit enemies. Only allies. Yeah, for real. So, he's useless in this and most fights. It's then that they realize that he has somewhat of a heart, which is made up of the comet that fell to Earth. So Harley, Bronze Tiger, and Hitman all work together to distract the monster by yelling, "Hey Brimstone, over here!" and kind of pretending to fight it, while Deadshot does a sick trick shot to shoot its heart out and kill the monster. The team starts to maybe celebrate a little, but then Enchantress steps out of the shadows and picks up the heart. The heart glows and the power surges through the Enchantress as she transforms into what was her final form in the original movie. She places the heart into the corpse of Blockbuster, who comes to life, becoming somewhat of a brutish servant to her, kind of this movie's counterpart to her brother Incubus from the original movie. The two teleport away as the rest of the team kinda has an oh shit moment. The battle may be over, but the war has just started. So, They all regroup at Belle Reve and decide what to do next. Well, first they have to piece together what's going on. So they sort of piece together that the comet that was Brimstone's heart and then powered up Enchantress and Blockbuster has to be more important than just being some comet. Maybe it was sent here from another world. It sounds a little crazy, but considering Superman and Zod and the parasite that bit Hitman, it's not impossible. So, say this comet was sent from an alien planet. What's it got to do with Enchantress, and what was its purpose? Well, obviously earlier Enchantress was kind of murmuring about aliens, and so maybe she's connected to extraterrestrial life somehow, and based on their track record so far, aliens tend to want to invade Earth, so they're probably using Enchantress to do that. So Enchantress is a soldier of an alien race that wants to invade Earth. Maybe she wasn't doing what she was told, so they sent a comet to give her the power she needed. Their invasion plan wasn't to send that comet and create Brimstone to destroy the world. Their invasion plan was to create Brimstone as a vehicle for Enchantress to get the comet. But what's the next step? Well, clearly the aliens are having trouble arriving on their own, so Enchantress is trying to bring them here. So Task Force X's new task is to locate Enchantress and stop, well, an alien invasion. Not exactly what the program was intended to do, but here we are. So, their first idea is to use the tracking chip in her neck to track her, but apparently it's inactive because of the power surge from the comet. So then, they check police reports of Enchantress-like incidents, and turns out they all take place near and around Star Labs, the place where June Moon worked. Obviously, they assume that whatever made her into Enchantress and will bring the army is located there. And since she worked for Silas Stone, that's who they first question as Waller sends them off. Now, while all of this is going on, Silas Stone is returning home from work, and when he is greeted by June Moon. But once she gets inside his house, she immediately transforms into Enchantress. She begins screaming in an alien language, which obviously Silas doesn't understand. But she grabs Silas by the neck and looks into his eyes and gains the ability to communicate telepathically in English. She asks Silas to tell her where the mother box is. Silas has no idea what a mother box is, so he asks for more details. She transmits an image into his mind telepathically, and he explains that what she calls a mother box is still located in the basement of Star Labs. The squad arrives just as Enchantress is teleporting away, and just in time to ask Silas Stone a few questions. Silas recants that 2 years ago he discovered the mother box in the Star Labs vault. He was warned against using it because it was so powerful and mysterious, but he used it anyway for experiments he was working on. Deadshot asks what kind of experiments are so important that he'd risk using what's apparently some alien generator, but Silas just brushes off that it was important work. So, they learn it's still at Star Labs, and that's clearly where Enchantress is going, so they head there. They fight Enchantress and Blockbuster outside of Star Labs, realizing how powerful each of them are. Harley mentions that Enchantress should go away and stop ruining their lives by prolonging their sentences with these missions, but Enchantress tells them that she's not their enemy. They share a common enemy. Their true enemy is Waller. Waller was the government agency that hired June Moon to investigate the mother box. Enchantress needs time to build her army. They have 1 hour to decide whether they want to join her and rule the world, or if they want to be crushed by her might. The squad regroups without Waller, and things start to make sense. Harley and Deadshot were both caught at times that seemed impossible. Harley was caught, but the Joker wasn't? And Batman cornered Deadshot at the exact perfect time, almost like he had eyes and ears all over the city. To the level maybe the government does, but he doesn't. That's what Waller has. Waller hired Batman to take them in. Waller was the one responsible for the death of Bronze Tiger's fiancée, which led him to a life of crime which landed him on Waller's team. After a little investigating, they find out that Friendly Fire's team, Section 8, really did exist, and Friendly Fire really did accidentally kill them in a warehouse fight, but Waller had all the evidence of their existence destroyed. He's basically on the team to be used as Waller's scapegoat and weapon against the rest of the team. Hitman can't believe any of this until he realizes that he too has been a puppet of Waller the whole time. Meanwhile, Enchantress and Blockbuster arrive at a Metropolis construction site near Star Labs. Suddenly, construction workers and some passersby start to hear her voice in her head. This world must be cleansed, but you shall be spared. She holds up the comet. With the seed my master has sent, you all shall be saved from the rapture. You will be his disciples. The comet glows as the citizens nearby slowly mutate and transmogrify into her mindless drones. The squad confronts Waller, who is somewhat impressed but not really amused by their discoveries. There's obviously no evidence that she did any of these things, and no one will believe them. Harley, Deadshot, and Bronze Tiger are all criminals, Friendly Fire is literally legally insane, and Hitman is a government science project. Outside of Argus, he doesn't even exist. So she suggests that they do what she says, because there are hundreds of other criminals that she could enlist for Task Force X in the event that they would rebel, so to speak. And now the storm of Star Labs is beginning. So Waller commands them to stop Enchantress because, as you might expect, an alien invasion is not part of Waller's plans. So somewhat begrudgingly, they go over to Star Labs, where Enchantress and her army is waiting. Enchantress asks them if they made the right decision. Hitman steps forward and says, "Yeah, we have," and uses his telepathy to throw a nearby soldier into a building. The battle begins. This is more your typical fight scene. We get to see each character really show off their powers in this construction place setting. Well, except for Harley and Friendly Fire, I guess. But they get to fight. So, now as each character fights through her army, Enchantress inches closer and closer to the basement, with only a couple of the squad members being able to follow her down. She gets in and raises the comet towards the mother box. They begin to glow before they gravitate together. A boom tube begins to open as Enchantress starts chanting in an alien language. This is when the Suicide Squad starts to file in. Deadshot tries to shoot the comet out of the mother box to prevent the boom tube from opening, but Enchantress is protecting it too much. None of the squad can get through. This world will belong to Darkseid. They need something powerful to stop her, but no one on the squad can do that. They continue to try in vain to get through as the boom tube grows and grows. And then Friendly Fire steps forward. He is the only one that can stop her. He concentrates and concentrates, trying to use his powers to do anything but hurt his allies. He killed his friends. He killed his family. The only reason he's here is to kill other people on the squad. He just needs to do this one thing right. He aims his powers right at Enchantress, and she's incinerated in a great, big, huge, epic tornado of fire. The comet itself is burnt out of the mother box and the boom tube is closed, but there's a price to pay. As his hands get hotter and hotter, Friendly Fire begins to overload. The squad is telling him to stop. They can find another way. He doesn't have to die. But he doesn't stop. As he fights through the pain, he musters out, "The best thing I ever did was this. The best thing I ever did was join the Suicide Squad," as his head flies off. Come on. If I was making a Suicide Squad movie, there's no way I could resist having someone commit suicide. So, it's epilogue time. The government covers most of it up, saying that essentially what happened was a terrorist attack and Amanda Waller's Task Force X was able to stop it. Amanda Waller is praised as a hero inside the government and out. Friendly Fire's death isn't known by anyone not related to the squad, but they do hold their own funeral for him before they're all thrown back in prison. Thanks to Silas's help, they were able to get Star Labs security footage that shows Amanda Waller was to blame for Enchantress. So Waller, quote-unquote, resigns as head of Task Force X, but she stays head of Argus because that's how government tends to work. We end with Hitman explaining this to the squad as he pulls them all back out of prison, since he's now the head of Task Force X. Bronze Tiger remarks that Waller should be in prison, and it's a shame they couldn't do it. Hitman says that hopefully one day there'll be another team. One that can bring her some justice. We fade to what was the mid-credits scene in the original movie, but will be the last scene in this version. It's essentially the same, with Waller giving Bruce Wayne metahuman information, but now it's recontextualized as Waller repaying Bruce for taking in Harley and Floyd. The real mid-credits scene is somewhat of an introduction to Cyborg, with Silas going into a secret lab at Star that reveals him in full suit for the first time. So that's my version of Suicide Squad. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and also tell me if you're going to see the Suicide Squad when it comes out. Don't forget to subscribe for daily videos on the franchises you love, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.